Okay. Hi, everyone. We are now live. I am Lisa Gardner, and I am a marketing and brand strategist, and I love working with creative entrepreneurs to promote them, to market them, talk to them, and write about them. So I started this show, I guess it's called a show, to talk to people that I really admire. And today I'm talking with Irma Hardjakusumah, who is the owner of Studio Left. I've known her for years. Um, so I'm just waiting kind of now for people to come on, and I will introduce Irma. Hopefully everyone is able to find. Here we go. Okay, so some people are coming on now. So hi everybody. Um, so I'm going to introduce Irma. And again, if you missed this, this is Irma Hardjakusumah. Now I said it.
Irma H.
Irma H from Studio Left. So I am going to, this is Conversations with Creatives. I am Lisa. I am going to actually read. I never do this, but I'm going to read what Irma wrote on her website, or maybe, yeah, you probably wrote this, right, Irma? Because it seems like you. Okay. Because it was just too good. And I thought, I can't do any better than this. So Studio Left is a multi-disciplinary design studio that crafts spaces and experiences for the world of events, exhibits, stage presentations, art installations, interiors, experiential marketing, and everything in between. Based in Los Angeles, it was established in 2011 by Irma. Inspired by the concept, this is the part that I love, of the Renaissance woman, the Bauhaus Group, and Mission Impossible team. She sets out to put together a team of designers, engineers, artists, makers, crafters, strategists, specialists to create cross-disciplinary designs that touch solutions often overlooked by our competitors serving a singular industry. Now, that is a mouthful. I'll just tell you that I just know her, like when I see her work, my eyes get really big and I'm like, oh my God, someone just did that. So I was introduced to her work through the Emmys Governor's Ball, which she has done for years now. And she's going to show us one of those events tonight, where she would install like 160,000 square foot ceiling treatments. They were like things I'd never seen.
That's actually the whole space. So like the actual, including the sides. So maybe the center area is about 190,000.
It's big, okay? It's just big. Come on. And so then we started talking again this year because she was doing some work on a very personal, intimate design expression. So she's going to show us that today too. And while she was working on that, she was also doing this massive holiday pop-up for the Westfield shopping centers. We're going to talk about that too. And we're going to talk about creativity and some of her philosophies. So let me stop talking and we'll hand it over to Irma. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share the PowerPoint that will show you some of her work. And when it goes, I won't be able to see you guys. So if there are comments or anything like that, just I will unshare at the end, or Irma might be able to see them. Okay. So again, this is Conversations with Creatives with Irma. So we're going to start with this event, Irma. I think it's great because it shows a lot of different facets. So if you can tell us a little bit about this event.
This was for the Wall Street Journal's Future of Everything Festival. This was last year. I work with an agency, Hafas Events in New York. So our scope was we were to design and create environments for the festivals. It has a lot of program, but the space is limited. So a lot of it is playing puzzle and Tetris to fit a lot of the program because it has a very robust program of showcasing important brands and important participants in different fields that is creating something exciting for the future.
And so it has, sorry, I'm like,
it's almost like a conference, like a festival, so you have
right. I'm going to show the other, what's going on here? Let's see. That's really weird. Okay, so what's happening? Okay, it's looking okay now, though, right?
Yeah. Yes. Strange. So this is it's like a interesting kind of like an elevated science fair, for lack of a better term. So
Right.
I had to, they said like, we're going to showcase this kind of robot car, or like this kind of new, like, it's almost like a skateboard, not a skateboard, I'm sorry, wheelies or something.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like we have to have people test it out. So we have to do like a little kind of like padded area. Those like walls in the back was like, this padded thing, so people would be protected. It's fun. It blends one section to another. So the lot is anything moving. The counter is like food, and then there's the parlor with beauty, like different kind of disciplines. The arcade shows like artificial intelligence and games and whatnot. So now you're at the Emmys.
Yes, hold on a second. I know. I'm sorry. I skipped
No
ahead.
worries.
And now the wheel is going around. Okay, there we go. So can you talk a little bit, one of the things you said was about loyalty to the brief, and you call it a brief, but it's also known as like just the objectives of the event, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so these are things, so your design elements have to come in to play for what needs to happen, right?
Yes. So again, because we're multidisciplinary, we have to kind of know each of the discipline has their own kind of, even though we open our minds to a lot of possibilities for our solutions, we still know that, what is important for each discipline. So for a conference, it's important that we understand their mission, their brand guidelines, their brand DNA, how they want to be perceived, how the tone of the event is, and all of that, including like, the program itself. They want to be able to create like open flow spaces that will allow people to kind of meander and just kind of play and just amplify the elements of the nature of experimentations of like, all these brands, producing something for the future. Like one of them actually create a band that is virtual, so you can kind of like make the act, and like like your movement is recorded, and it creates music in the program. So it's a very exciting place. It's like a science fair. So
So it is cool.
So
well,
it is, and so because you want to kind of allude to something that is clean and futuristic and modern, and you don't want to dictate what like a future is. You just want to create a canvas but still actually inside excitement and all that. So like you start with that rather than going by like, oh, what do I like? Like I like something that looks like this. So like you start with the answer to the aesthetic decisions are most of the time written in the program itself.
Right. The thing I thought was interested about this is that it looks different all the way through. Like it doesn't, like you didn't do like one thing, like I'm going to brand it all the way through. You've got the stage here, then you've got the conference going in, and then you have another part of it. I mean, it just looks like it's just a great.
There's a little kind of like carry through thread within it. Like you want to start with something that's very basic. That's something that's like, like the wall, if you see, it's pretty much like a flat plane, but obviously you want to play with transparency because the space is pretty limited. Mm-hmm. So you created this kind of like inside outside feel with like string curtains in different colors, and you color code the area so you don't have to put sign everywhere that says this is this section. Like you can see, the pink section is the parlor and the yellow section is the county. Right. So you color code them, and you can kind of see where you want to go based on the colors. The stage, you want to create something that's exciting and at the same time very basic, like, so you have this kind of pixels or like squares that merge into creating like a kind of spherical dome. It's abstract, but yet it's something that you inherently can feel, like you can kind of it's these kind of gestures, like when do you need to go thematic, when do you need to put like a baroque column in the middle of the stage, and when do you need to go abstract and create something simplistic. So those kinds of decision usually is written within the program itself, and you read it and you kind of say, this is the time to go crazy with scenic, or this is the time to actually pare down and restrain and like basically like drive from colors, drive from the more esoteric side of design.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so since you were talking about that and about obviously the treatments of space, let's go into that next one that we were talking about. I added a couple more photos here than what you had so that we could have some time to look at photos while you're talking. So this was the Emmys Governor's Ball 2017 at the Los Angeles Convention Center, and definitely a exploration of spatial relations with the ceiling treatment. So if you can tell us a little bit about that.
Like always, the Emmys Governor's Ball is basically the work of a village. I can't credit myself solely for that particular room. We work closely with the producers, with the lighting designers, which is our friend Raymond.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's why I was there. It was the first time I saw one of these. Yes.
So it always started organically. So like sometimes like the committee meet up and basically they said like, we're thinking gold this year, or we're thinking, something that is carried from their kind of key art. They have a key art every year that you kind of go by, like, okay, we have this key art that have this graphic or something like that.
Right.
And like it came to like, oh, I don't really know how we get to these tubes. I think it was it was one of those, because at that moment it was still more like free, like just throwing different kind of like directions. And so I think it was Cheryl trying to want to create like the Great Hall, and at first it was like candles and whatever. So then finally we were like, okay, tubes, okay, but I wasn't going to do tubes that is pretty much like, like a decorative element. I want to make space with it. And as soon as I sketched it, I remember we were meeting in like a coffee shop in near Studio City. And so like I was sketching it and I was like, I want to make it like, a space. And I'm always, blessed with like producers that would go and like, guts, just looking at it. And I'm like, this has the potential of something good, even though they didn't see any more from me other than that sketch. And they're like, okay, go for it, So
yeah, that's cool.
So go for it.
That's really cool. But so tell us about what they're sustainable, right? They're not really gold.
Yeah. So the challenge with this is the space. Like you would end up actually paying a lot of money if you're not careful, because the space is just humongous. It's like about 300 feet by 300 feet by about 40 feet high. You have to address it to make something. And in architecture, this is things where I borrowed like technology from different disciplines. And in architecture, there's like a section of just teaching you how to create a place of monuments, like how to make people feel small, how to make people feel intimate and cozy or whatever. So it's kind of using that kind of like strategies in here and creating like this massive spaces.
Yeah.
But also understanding that people have limitations of like fields of visions and all that. So we managed to find that sweet spot of like, it needs to be like this much space apart, and because people won't miss it, even though it looks like it's very sparse, but like it will achieve what we want to achieve. And it turned out to be like, like it's manageable in terms of cost and it worked with installation.
How many tubes were there in all, do you think?
6,000 tubes.
Oh my God. And you guys had to hand installed them, right? Yeah.
Because a lot of it, in a smaller installation, you're able to take a bunch of stuff and you create it like you arrange flowers. But when you do something this massive, you kind of have to already number them, and you go, like with coordinates. It's like you can't think anymore. You can't look at it and basically like, I need to have that cut a little bit. You need to be able to already know that this is going to be 22 feet and 6 inches at this level. And, everything is already pre-done, because you have to install all of this in one day.
Right.
And it has to go in like soldiers, Right. So that's the part that's kind of like my job to make sure that, all of the numbers are like, a lot of times I only have the virtual, like the computer, to see all of this and get it done. Right. And just pray it will work according to the plan. And, like knock on wood, so far, still so good.
Right. I mean, isn't it amazing that something that is really designed to make somebody feel like super emotional and things actually starts with something that is just so non-emotional, just completely functional, and just a bunch of numbers on a graph,
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. Because then, of course, the lighting also helped. I know Raymond did a lot of colored lighting later on too, during the party. So that was pretty fun.
He's phenomenal. I love him.
He is phenomenal. I love Raymond too. Who doesn't? So let's see. Then we go to, so let's see. From here, we're going to take everybody on a journey into white space. No, into the holiday pop-up, which is completely different. Let me just see where we're at. Let's go to a full rendering first, and we'll come back to the detail shots of Santa's.
So this is the 2020. This is the holiday market 2020. The one that you showed before was the one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, gotcha. So this was 2019.
This
okay.
was last year.
Okay.
And when we were given the brief, they wanted to do a holiday market that is basically environmental and could support the retail marketing units, which is the shops. So our job is to create an environment to kind of like make it look fun, basically make the shops look fun and mix. So we created this little quaint Victorian little town, and we match everything, including the steam engine train. We built that. That is not a rental or a prop. We built the train.
We'll get into the pictures of that in a minute.
Yes.
Let me just point out for people though, so that they understand the space. Up in the upper left-hand corner here, that's the amount of space that you had to work with, right?
Yes.
Of the Westfield Shopping Center. I think you did this for a couple other ones, but this was the Westfield Shopping Center.
Yes.
Okay. And you built these things in 2019, and then you had to repurpose them, right, for 2020 because they spent a lot of money.
So, the whole purpose of the bill was that you can actually reuse that for like for the next years or so. So like that's part of the design, goal.
Sure.
And among them is the Santa, house that is basically sitting on top of their fountain because we ran out of space to put things.
Right.
And so we kind of have to create like a deck to like hold it up and kind of like space plan it to kind of fit in there. And the performances was more organic, and they kind of just happen around the town clock, and it's around the clock, and they and these performances are created and organized with Non-Degen, another phenomenal entertainment company. It's Broadway, like it's phenomenal. So for this year in COVID, and now they were questioning like how do we do it, like they have to have a holiday program. So then there's the need to social distance the performance for performers from the visitors. So they wanted to do something in this area, but at the moment they weren't sure what it was going to be. So this is what we proposed. It's like an extension of the station, has like this staircase shaft on the side that connects the second balcony, the balcony to the ground, and create a connection to the train. So the performers were able to they're masked. The mall is running at 25% capacity, and people are able to watch it from second floor, first floor, and these are phenomenal cast. Like the girl in the center at the top there, she's the current Elphaba for Wicked.
Yeah.
So it's a very exciting performance, and I'm just honored to be a part of this whole thing. We are.
It's incredible that they do this. So this is part of.
So now we have the bungalow, but again we have to comply with COVID rule and all of that, and they were like, what do we do with the bungalow? So we created like a pass through so people don't really linger in it. We kind of like stanchion it off. There's an activation inside the bungalow where people kind of do a scavenger hunt. They go outside. There's like all kinds of this navigational system that they can see, and then the finale is outside where Santa is actually housed in this carriage, and you can kind of take a photo with Santa and then out basically.
That's just amazing. And so because Santa is enclosed and then you're on the outside.
Yes, Santa is enclosed and, has little AC in it and some heater. And
And he can talk, right? Does he have a microphone or
he
something?
does. You have a microphone now with
Okay.
like there's like this little cone on the side. So like, the visitors could kind of like communicate with him.
Right, right. It's so funny. I wonder what they're going to do if it goes to lockdown.
Well, again,
I know. Well, I hope they run it through January.
we
Yeah.
can only, but like all of the stuff that, we try to be intelligent with stuff. Like we were trying to kind of build pieces that last and or can actually be refurbished and
Refurb.
whatnot. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, repurpose.
nothing will go to waste. So yeah.
Right, right. So let's just take another look. Yeah. Okay. So how cool. So then this year you were able to, at the same time as you're doing that, you were able to enter something you'd wanted to enter for a long time, which was the
Yes.
LA Design Festival. And so
Yes.
you did this as well as that.
So, well, I mean, we had a nice kind of vacation somewhere between, March and April when it first kind of like the first kind of month of lockdown before we started the holiday stuff. And I just, I mean, I've never had that much free time in my life before. And I was, like usually when I do have some free time, I spend it in the museum or see like art installations, and it's just something that I love to do. It's like watching where like the design world is heading and looking at new artists or like old artists or whatever. So I know every June LA Design Festival is usually on, but then that time when I was like, it just show up and it's like, oh, we're extending it in September. And I was like, and then I send them, look, I want to do an art installation because I've been following them since 2013. I just never had the chance to actually participate. And, June or July is always our busy, time to do a lot of our commercial projects happen around that time. So, so then I was like, like I want to, now is the time, like it's now or never.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
so I contacted the organizers who, they are very, open, and they're like, oh, we're running an all virtual stuff, but the installation is happening. It's called Vitrine. So it's going to happen behind window, like you can create whatever you want behind window and people can kind of see it from the outside. So I jumped to the thing and I was like, okay, so like everybody was already have their program and all that. And we were like in the middle of like doing some other stuff and still like work, So finally, when by the time I said, yes, we're doing it, we're in the middle of doing the holiday. And of course they're like, okay, we need to get the title and what is it about? So, and then that's what like, okay, I need to come up with something,
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you have a lot of ideas though. I'm just guessing.
yeah, and my team and I at the same time we're like, even though it was the pandemic, we're like, we're still maintaining work, like, the best way we can. I'll go through it after this, how we can maintain that whole thing.
Right.
So anyway, I know that I'm always fascinated with domes. That's has been my thing. So and I'm always curious about enclosures, because it always appears everywhere in the work in interior design, work in architecture, work in exhibits and staging. Each of them have different type of walls, and so I'm always like exposed to like the different type of like walls that I deal with all of these different disciplines. And I want to explore something that's neither or. So it's more just enclosure for the sake of enclosure. So that's how the title Shell came about. And it is actually an exploration of things inspired by, the nautilus, lobster, case, insect wings, butterfly, and all kinds of like those little
the patterns
or fish scales, how fish scale links and all that. So like it's basically inspired by that, and we're working on the the patterns and all that, and we create like a skeleton. It's a play of skin and structure,
right?
And I put the team together. We put it up in like a day and a half, and up, and it just been taken down yesterday, actually.
Right. And it also went to, what was it? The
Dutch Design Week.
Dutch Design. So
Yeah.
that's cool. So yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit, like even here.
There's some questions. Should I answer them now or later?
Oh, there's questions in the comments? Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
So Art Gray was asking, what are the materials? So the materials are a combination of acrylics, color plexi and coroplast and frost plexi. It's probably the first time I didn't use polygel. That's like one of my favorite material to work with because they play with lights, phenomenally. But they are literally, they have like a breaking point. So if you put too much pressure on a lot of them, there's a point that they're gonna break. So that's the reason why I try to kind of like compress them with the sections, and they, they actually surprisingly are very, very rigid and they hold their shapes. So they're held together by nothing, by zip ties.
Zip ties. Okay, right. Yeah, I can see them there. Yeah, I watched you actually taking them down a little bit today because it's a video of you taking them down. So there actually is a structure. The white, I don't know what it's called, but the white structure.
The skeleton.
The skeleton, yes. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that, and then these things come in and sort of like a puzzles, pieces to the puzzle. But you know what? Can I just say that if we look back to the Wall Street Journal one, doesn't this kind of reflect that a little bit in terms of color and in terms of the transparency element of being able to see through things? I think it's really interesting how some of your professional ties in with your personal and vice versa.
It is. It feeds one another, and I mean, like, because a lot of people would ask, like, you're like a futuristic designer? Are you like, but you like vintage stuff? The answer to that is, I mean, like, I am a designer that loves stories. So, like, when it has to tell a story a certain way, and that's how I'm going to go with. And I love, the classical set with, like, the Greek architecture, the Georgian manner, like Victorian, like it's each period has its own charm and its own language. And the way I see it, it's like it's just fluency in design language. So it's almost like, looking at Meryl Streep, like, playing the different character that she plays, like if she's needed to be serious, then she's going to be serious. If she's needed to be funny, then she's going to need to be funny, like, and I'm sure she enjoyed all of those roles the same way I enjoyed all of these different visual languages.
That's a great point. And does this kind of tie into one thing you said the other day when we were talking, style is the enemy of design? Can you explain that a bit?
Yes, it's more like the Achilles heel of design, because once you actually stick to a style and basically use that to guide every single design decision that you do, then you're in a bubble. It's almost like if you're playing rom-com, you're going to play rom-com all your life. But the minute you break apart from a style and you actually learn to speak that other visual language, like I love, like, personally, I love mid-century design,
Right.
But I have worked in a Victorian set, I've worked in a Baroque set, I've worked in, an Art Deco set. And when you're in Art Deco, you need to be fluent Art Deco. When you're in Art Nouveau, you need to be fluent Art Nouveau in order for your set to be believable,
So you're saying, yes. So to create a style for yourself, it actually pigeonholes you, and then you're not able to design as freely as possible. Yeah. But you also said something great too. Artists ask questions and designers offer solutions.
Yeah, so a lot of people, a lot of times ask me, like, because I've had a lot of friends who are like young designers, and they're basically, sometimes they come to me and in their frustration, that I'm like, I'm really waiting for that opportunity. Well, like, people will just let me do whatever I want. Like, if I want to do like something, like I really want. And then I said, if you want, but you kind of need to ask, why do you want to do it that way? Like if you want to, because it's art, is that, okay, that's the difference between being an artist and a designer, is that an artist can do whatever they want, or because they're actually posing a question. They're making a statement.
Right.
It's actually their art is the work in itself. A designer needs to provide solutions. Your job is to solve this program. You're given a set of programs, so you need to solve it. That's your end product is a solution. So if your aesthetic choices are not part of the solution, you need to kill it. And you need to be able to have the heart to kill it, because it doesn't follow the story.
That's totally what I say about writing too. Sometimes there's a paragraph in there that you just love, and it's like the best paragraph in the whole world, and you just love it to death. But it has nothing to do with the story, and it completely takes the reader off into some other strange spot of like they're like, what? And you have to kill it. So we call it "kill your darlings" in writing. Yes. Yeah, and you read a lot of books, so you know what I'm talking about. So. Yeah. So then the other thing that you said, okay, so there's two things that I kind of want to bring towards the end. And let me say, one was the quote that you sent me the other day. I'll kind of get to the end and I'll open this up. First of all, here's your squad. Here's your team. Hi, team. Hey, team.
Hi, team.
Hi, team. These are your environmental designers,
Yes. These are my left hand, right hand, left, eye, right eye.
Yeah,
they're my, they're my peeps.
They are. They're fierce.
So go back.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to go left from right. Here you go. Okay.
So, starting from the left, that's Jeanette Simatao. She's a stylist, art director. She's phenomenal with like setting, set dressing and spaces and all that. She has a really cool eye. Next to her, obviously, it's me. I'm the founder of Studio Left. And then on my left, there is Putri Sarnadi. She is my project manager. She is a whiz in research and just can find whatever it is that you need, Then next to Putri, that's Susan Kwok. She's an environmental designer, experiential designer, however you see it. She works with, modeling, rendering, and all of that. Like we work very closely with like all of the documents that you go into like design. Next to her is Jessica Rovanio. Same thing. She's an experience designer, environmental designer, and work in the same capacity as Susan and us. So together we kind of complete one another and finishing all of the projects that we do.
And you all have like fierce sunglass going on.
It was a thing of a moment thing. It was like we all have sunglasses. Let's put it on. Let's take a photo of it.
Or you're like, okay, we just do that, yeah. Because then that ties us all together. Except that we're all wearing black, of course. And we're all just so hip and cool. You guys are so great. I love this is what really drew me to it. And to me, when I see stories out there that like really catch my attention, it was this picture that did it for me. I was like, oh my God, that's the best picture ever. Those women just look fantastic. And that structure looks just beautiful. And the structure's all pink and kind of girly. And the girls are like fierce and black and their sunglasses. I thought it was just really, really great. So those are the things that draw me to a story. Like I'm like, oh, I want to know the story behind it.
We have fun. We have fun. We love what we do. And we enjoy each other's companies, and we trust each other. It's funny because I've led a lot of design team, and part of the things is you need to be able to look for talents, and people always ask how do you look for that, and each team is different. Each company you need a different team, so like the one that we have right now is because it works for our time and our purpose. So it's not all about, what's on paper.
Right.
There's chemistry also between all of us, so.
Right. That's really important. So yeah, the couple things I wanted to end on then were, well, maybe I'll just do the one because it's such a good quote. I think I'm just going to do that. Well, first, can I just say that I love that you say creative work is not a talent. It's a skill that can be trained.
Yes.
So
it's creativity is actually it's survival,
Right.
at its basic form. It's survival. It's what you do when you're left in the middle of an island with nothing but yourself. What do you do
Right.
with how to survive?
That is
So
creativity.
you take a stick and whatever, you make yourself a hut, and you start to forage for some food.
Right.
So at the basic level, it's survival. At the more esoteric level, it's actually the ability to dream after many crushed dreams. It's hope.
That's the other one. Right. Right. That was
Yeah.
the other quote. Very good. Yes.
It's basically the ability to be able to wake up every morning and dream up a new dream bigger than the one that was crushed yesterday. So because
Yeah.
it is, the reality of it is that it is going to get crushed.
Yeah.
And you don't get to be doing this if you don't have the stomach to see your dreams being crushed all the time.
Right.
It's being able to, it's just the ability to keep dreaming all the time, and knowing to have that fresh eyes all the time, to even though that the world is harsh. Sometimes we'll go to war, sometimes there's COVID. What are you going to do about it? So
Well, I think that and definitely in your business too, and in the business where you also have a client, like I can see like with your shell, that's different because you are the client. But when you have a client and they tell you, well, no, I don't like that. And then you're like, but that's the best part of it. And they really are like, no. And so then you're like, well, all right, let me figure out a workaround, or let me figure something out that I can live with and you can live with. I mean, I think that's what it is. I don't know if it's just crushed dreams, but compromise, which people do say is also the same as a crushed dream, because compromise means no one's happy. But
yeah.
Well,
I'm saying more like that is a detour. I don't consider that like a crushed dreams. A crushed dreams is something that's complete, like catastrophic, or like something that you put your heart and soul, whatever project is canceled or something like that. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that nowadays. Like that kind of a thing, or a little bit more than, like, other than that, it's a detour, and you can always and there's nothing goes to waste. It's a basically there's a quote by a famous designer that is one of my favorite, Bruce Mao. It's just capture accidents. So like what he's saying is that, like, you might don't just go for the obvious, like try here, oh, it doesn't work, try here, it doesn't work, okay, but I'm going to make a note of this, maybe this is going to work next time.
Right.
Like, these are possible solutions, and that's what you do when you like kind of like brainstorm. It's like that first episode, do you watch House MD before?
Yeah, I mean, years ago,
a long
when
time
it was
ago,
first on. Yeah.
So at the beginning, every time they have a case, it's always like, what is this person have, like, ailment? Like, he's going to die or something.
Be my doctor if I do something
5
weird.
doctors, and then they brainstorm in the room, and they just kind of write elimination. Like, that is the kind of, that's when design or creativity is being active. It's trying to find that, trying to get out of a situation, trying to find that kind of, possibility. So like you want to capture all these possibilities for possible answers later. And so it might not be used now, but it might be used later. So you just keep that in the back of your mind. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly, if I can go back to my example of the writing, and if there's a paragraph that won't work, I just take it and I put it over here. And I go, well, I'll use that somewhere else and it will work, somewhere else. So I suppose it's kind of the same thing, but it's like serendipity, the whole capturing the accident. Yeah. So, no, I think that's wonderful. I love everything you say. I'm always like, what did you just say? Can you say that again? Can you say it into the microphone, please? So cool. Well, Irma, I don't know, does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. So we've got everybody. So we'll, as it goes along, there'll be comments and stuff and probably questions then, and we'll be answering them as it goes along. So thanks for everybody. And it is a fierce team, that's for sure. That's it. And so Irma, what's up on your next, do you have another project in the works, or is it,
we're kind of slowing down right now. We have like some projects here and there for like February, and then just now I had a call for somebody who needs like it's always like that. I mean, like I think I'm done for the month, and I don't know, and then somebody call, and sometimes it doesn't go into something. It doesn't
Right.
matter. I mean, like
When you
it's
start.
it's just
Right.
the nature of the work. So
Yes.
yeah.
Well, I loved talking with you today. I always I think I've got like 3 different profiles of Irma on my blog, which I can put up some links to that later if you guys want to read those.
Kim Ulrich was asking.
Oh.
I missed the beginning of the
What was
video.
your
What was your schooling? How long? Oh, so my background is architecture. And when I graduated from architecture, I went to school in Indonesia. When I graduated, it was like at the heel of the Asian crisis. So I decided to kind of move here before at first to just try out like a semester, trying out like classes, because I love the fact that education system here is very, easy. You can take classes here and take classes there, and you just pick and choose what you want to learn. So I took a few classes in art center, and that's how I met my first employer. He basically needed a drafter, and so finally he sponsored me working for him. So I worked for him. I started as an intern, and then I made my way up, and I was the design director of that company for like the past 7 years. Then I have a child. Then I decided that I couldn't work, like the hours that is needed to fulfill my job. So I resigned and I work from home. And then right after that, not long after that, and I started Studio Left to just basically be the infrastructure of my freelance work, but it kind of grew to be the studio that it is right now. So
Right. That was 2011 that you started
Yeah.
Studio Left, correct? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of thing that answers how long, that answers kind of all of that. Yeah, and the blog link that I'll put in, I can tell you how she started Studio Left. I always, you can always just tell. Actually, it fits into everything. Why don't you tell them how you came up with the name of Studio Left?
We were on our way to the West Side. I think my best friend's little daughter has like a preschool, like whatever show and tell, and we were going to go there. So basically, we were heading to West, and went to the gas station. So the gas station has a little convenience store, and I went there, possibly to buy chips. I don't know. So I went there. The front door was broken, and then there's this little unceremonious, 8.5 by 11 paper tape onto the thing with like clumsily drawn arrow, like left side. It's like enter through the left side. So I like that it's unpretentious. I like that it's basically offering nothing but solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Enter through the left. So it's an alternative route. It's a solution, and it's it's humble. It's straightforward.
It gets the work done. And yet but that is, that's everything you've talked about today, about the solution and the design and the artist and the artistry and creativity. So I think it just sums up everything. And it also sums up for me how your artistic eye sees the world, like you saw that sign as being something really metaphorical, really. And that was really interesting.
It also, but you have to be able to do the dance though. It's almost like, and I don't want to use the left brain right brain thing, because it's not true. There's no such thing as left brain or right brain.
Right.
So but you kind of have to switch around always, to be able to feed your job as a designer. You have to there's the part that's practical, the formula, the non-negotiable kind of like bullet points that you kind of have to fulfill. But there's also the magic, so like that you kind of you need to be able to see it and basically say, I fall in love with it. It's not like it's not so there's like another quote by Buckminster Fuller. It says like, if I'm working on a solution, I'm not gonna see how it's gonna look, but when I come with the solution, if it's not beautiful, then it's wrong. I need to start over, So it needs to be both. and there's the part of magic that you kind of need to kind of fulfill as well. And that's the reason why I feel like it's important to have commercial projects and it's important to have love projects.
Right.
No matter how sometimes, it's just maybe like, like the beginning of the pandemic, I gathered my team. I was like, we could kind of have no projects, but I'm going to make a make-believe projects. And if you guys want to do it, you can do it, like, at whatever. And we can have a round of like, go through of your designs. And we kind of do crit like when we were in design school before, because this we do all the time, you do rounds of design crit. So my team decided like each one of them designed like whatever to according to like how they want it, and we have a round of like design crit, and it's actually it's a fun exercise for all of us because we get to be able to do the dance. That's
Right.
another thing. If the practice is important, so
Right. And it will always come back around into the projects. It's like you said, there's no waste. There's no waste,
Yes.
especially when it comes to creativity. I mean, you cannot. I mean, it's the best thing ever, and you can't waste it because it will always be funneled back into something else, however it is. And it also helps to fulfill yourself too. So self-empowerment, self-improvement, those kind of things, which is perfect for right now when we're going through such a horrible time, I think, and people's, we start feeling down or, and things. And so I think that's where the creativity really helps, or creating helps. Just creating anything.
I mean, like as corny as this might sound, it actually is an activity that kind of, will bring you joy,
Right.
like, so whether you're cooking or baking or, listening to music or writing or drawing, doodling for nothing, I mean, like I draw all the time. So like it's actually something that you can use to, it's mental health, mental health.
Right. Right. No, fantastic. I love everything you do and everything you say. So I want to thank you so much for giving us all your time today and helping me put this together, because that was also time that you spent, and I appreciate it. And I always love spending time with you here. And I thank you again for being my guest. And I'll
my pleasure.
We'll be talking, and we'll be commenting on the comment. We'll be checking into the comments if anyone has anything more to say later. So thank you, Irma. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Well, thank
you. I will try to be here again next week. I think I'm going to have an author here. So, and that's another thing that Irma and I both like. So thanks. I'm going to end the broadcast now. And thanks again.